Well, thank you for that kind and very generous introduction. It's always a great pleasure to be with you here. I'll just maybe move a little bit. What's that? It's always a great pleasure to be here with you and with my friend and colleague Philip Lawrence, who's been championing Bill C-281. We're here spending a week in Toronto trying to spread the news and seek your help and support on another legislative initiative that's aimed at advancing justice and human rights. This bill, C-281, makes a number of critical changes to Canadian law and policy that will force the government in an ongoing way to advance and defend human rights. It requires the government to table an annual report on the work they're doing to advance human rights. It creates a mechanism for parliamentary committees to recommend individuals for sanctions who are involved in human rights abuses. It would also, and I think this is a critical piece for the Tibetan community in particular and others who are victims of CCP violence, it would take off Canadian airwaves those Chinese state-controlled media channels that are currently able to broadcast here in Canada, broadcast messages of hate and violence and even depict forced confessions that they've been involved in. So it would take these Chinese state-controlled media channels off the air here in Canada. It would also include provisions to highlight the plight of political prisoners. We know of many high-profile cases of Tibetan activists, important religious figures who have been detained for a long time. I think in particular of the ongoing detention of the Panchit Lama that I and others have spoken about in Parliament. This bill, as part of the government's reporting on human rights, asks them to provide information about cases of ongoing detention of prisoners of conscience that have for whose release the government is actively working. So there's a lot of different pieces of this bill, C-281. Really, it's an omnibus bill. It's a collection of different measures that will help to advance human rights. And it's something that Phil has put forward that I'm seconding and supporting, and we're trying to get passed before the next election. This would make a big difference and an ongoing difference in terms of orienting Canadian foreign policy towards the advancement of human rights. So I'm asking for all of your support for Bill C-281. Please consider expressing support in various ways online, talking to your local MP. This bill will go for a final vote on June the 7th. I think this complements the work that we've done in this Parliament. In December, some of you were with us in Ottawa. We passed the motion that was mentioned that called for the resumption of Sino-Tibetan dialogue towards establishing genuine autonomy for Tibet. And we also passed the organ harvesting bill. And to give further life to these initiatives, the International Human Rights Act, C-281, is a next step that forces the government to be in ongoing dialogue with Parliament, responding to recommendations and providing information about what they are doing and will do going forward to advance human rights. So thank you for the opportunity to share a few words about this. Thank you for your support. It's always such a pleasure to be with you. I have been so richly blessed by my relationship with the Tibetan community as well. So thank you for your, as always, for your friendship and your hospitality. God bless.
Thank you very much. It's an honor and privilege to be here, and as always, my friend Garnett sums up everything quite well. So my remarks will be brief. And so, Bill C-281, in a nutshell, it seeks to advocate, to inspire, and to allow for the speaking of truth to power. Whether that be parliamentarians in the Canadian Parliament, to the executive and to the government, asking them why are we not sanctioning individuals, or whether it be it allowing individuals, advocates around the world, the power and strength they need to do for advocating for prisoners of conscience and to raise awareness. So we will, as a Conservative Party, stand a friend to Tibet. I salute my great colleague, Garnett, and I look forward to working beside him as we move towards a dialogue where Tibetans are once again free and have a real sense of autonomy. Thank you very much.
Executive Director Shirola Chago Yore, Yeso Shirola Tamadile Kaloj Noro Shuyi, Kamani Sons.
동안대 미만대 창마 페어대 투지체다 아니 캐나다 페더럴 행적 CDC 탑 슈제 다시대 슈규이 아니 다른데 토론토 네제베 기 소바카 나게 부잡게 다른 자릭 집에 제고데라 도스 게타모데 투지체체 안게다 벽엔 지가시스티 만체와 인계긴 슈초지 벽엔 슈에 등에 내가 전부 뒤통고도 넘버도 가시 마켄바 요에나 안다 공도 숨마 개체쇼지 가르차고 쇼에나 단다 조조팀이 가넷 제네스 괜히 아니 단다 조조팀이 필립 로렌스기 숭원나시 다른 게 숭에 단다 조디 팀자 빌 C-281 팀자디가 차디고 그래 디 빌 C-281 팀자디 가르레 거로 쇼에나 아니 캐나다 슝원에 드럼이 톱당가라 아니 뇌슈 슉체르 땅국의 여스 라지 다 팀자기 낭된 조디 대차디고 So thank you organizers for inviting me today to speak few words in honor and in gratitude of Honorable Member of Parliament Garnett and Honorable Member of Parliament Philip Lawrence, and in honor of their support to Tibet and in honor of their work on human rights, particularly on the Bill C-281, an International Human Rights Act. As a Canadian human rights activist and as a member of persecuted Tibetan diaspora, I consider this initiative a very important step in urging Canadian government to do more for Tibet. This bill, it connects Tibetan issues very closely because one of the issues that Tibetans in Tibet particularly deals on a very challenging situation is the arbitrary detention and torture. And this bill will push Canadian government to do more on prisoners of conscience. There are thousands of Tibetan prisoners of conscience who are still languishing in prisons in Tibet without any access to their family, without any access to legal help. This bill will push Canadian government to publish at least once a year a report on human rights, including a list of prisoners of conscience, their names, circumstances of their detentions, and efforts made by government to either meet or attend their hearings. As MP Garnett Janis mentioned earlier, we have been advocating almost every year for the release of His Holiness the 11th Panchen Lama. So this bill again will amplify our advocacy initiative for the call of release of prisoner of conscience like Panchen Lama. And there are many other thousands of Tibetans who are still, Panchen Lama is an example. And as my colleagues earlier mentioned, on December 14th, Canadian Parliament unanimously passed a motion supporting the resumption of dialogue. A motion sponsored by MP Garnett Janis. This motion was, I have mentioned this on several other events at Tibetan Canadian Cultural Center as well. This motion was passed in the Canadian Parliament for the first time in 13 years. It took many years. And more recently, we went to Ottawa, we lobbied for the appointment of special coordinator on Tibetan issues. So this bill will amplify all other human rights initiatives that are going on and that will come in the future. Personally, it's a great honor and inspiration for me to really have this opportunity to speak in the presence and in the honor of MP Garnett Janis, because I've known him for over now 8 years, since 2016. I consider him more as an activist first, and then politician. An activist politician who has been consistently speaking for the persecuted people by authoritarian regimes like People's Republic of China. So again, thank you everyone for coming here today, because we need to acknowledge people who support our cause from all parties. Thank you.
So firstly, we would like to present a token of appreciation to Honorable Garnett by Kasam Pinso, the President of Tibetan Canadian Association. Thanks so much, Garnett. Next, I would like to request the President of Canada, the country, going to pass on to present appreciation talking to Honorable Philip Lawrence. And then I would like to request the President of ITYC to present token appreciation to Assistant Officer Ali. Yes. Just come out. Number two, what's the yes. Next, I would like to request the President of Ontario Tibetan Women's Association, Techela, to present the token of appreciation to Mr. Shirab Tachin. Shirab Tachin worked tirelessly for all the political campaign in Canada, tirelessly. I would like to say a few words in Tibetan that Shirab Tachin la che mena kron ki ninse meba tisue tong je pe chena nga chu ni tu ni chening gi chinda chunyu gi chinda hibalya chi chi hilia nga tanda bill motion pass che le ka chin chod kono re khasi ni che nga chu auto no ya nga chu lobby desk de tin no ya to so terminal appointment so re tin no hingi kono ge tanda material this preparation che tsoma hansa gi chi de lega mokali je nga chu ya me mocha서 통과 말 제로를 같이 내가 지고 그런 게 대송자 대리 그거에 신께 맞춰 줘봐가 나도 미망하게 싫어되질라나 흰다반 뒤져 놓으셔야